well, so you're 10-5, ready to start the season. Obviously, you have to be pleased with the way things have gone so far.
Yeah, really, very excited about this last game in particular, beating Detroit, which, that's first of all, it's a really tough game. It's a tough matchup for us. I always say that quite possibly is the most difficult matchup for us because of their size inside and because of the presence of Sharita Brown, and that we just don't have anybody like her, physically built like her. So it's a difficult matchup for us. Our team was really focused and really, I think, dedicated to doing whatever we needed to do game plan-wise to be able to defend the paint. And I thought we did a great job as a team, and also we put a couple of different players on Brown, and we were able to, I think, frustrate her a bit, at least get her in some foul trouble. So coming off of last year's loss to them in the postseason, I think our players responded really positively to that. I mean, it was a tough loss for us last year, and to come back, with a victory here at home in our first meeting, I think shows how far we've come.
You used 3 different players on Brown. Was that because Haley got in the foul trouble, or did you plan to
we planned
try
to
to
do
keep
that.
a lot of people on her?
We did plan to do that. Haley getting in foul trouble early forced us to, at the end of the game, I looked at the stats and saw that she only played 10 minutes, had those 4 fouls. But we planned to use Kyla, Haley, and Nafisha against her. The biggest difference in our game plan this year and last year is that we kept Shea Winton off of her. And last year she primarily guarded her. That affects her offensively. It can be a very frustrating thing to guard somebody who's almost twice your size, So we decided to take her off of responsibilities of guarding Brown and put, our other big bodies on her. And I think, we were effective doing that, kept us somewhat fresh.
I mean, Nafisha has not gotten a lot of minutes, and she played big minutes on Saturday. Were you surprised at how she was able to, kind of step in and, that's a big responsibility is to guard Brown, given her size and all that.
Yeah, we kind of said before the game, if Nafisha can give us 10 good minutes, we'll feel like that would be really positive for us. And, she gave us 21 minutes, and Nafisha is a kid that we have, really just been waiting for her to come along in her transition into the college game. She's physically capable of playing at this level, of doing what we need her to do. She just had to buckle down and play harder. She had to learn about, the faster pace of the game and get in better physical condition and all those things. So it's taken her some time, but we have, really our expectations of her have been pretty high. I think that she came in and gave us good minutes, and she was up for the battle. I think we kind of razzed her all week about, what would she do, how would she handle, Brown coming to town, would she run and hide, or would she step up? And, of course, she's, says, I'm not afraid of anyone, I can do it. And so I think that was a bit of motivation. Really pleased with what she was able to contribute, 6 points, I think, and 6 rebounds, and got to the free throw line. And, obviously we've got to work with her, trying to get her to knock down some free throws, but that's a work in progress, so I'll take it one day at a time.
It looks like this is the most important stretch coming up, 4 home games, and obviously Green Bay right there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, every stretch is the most important stretch to us, I think, but Green Bay coming in, I think that's going to be a really tall task, and I think our kids are up for it. I think beating Detroit helps us in facing Green Bay. I think had we, not been able to beat Detroit, I think we would have had maybe a different perspective meeting Green Bay. I mean, Green Bay beat Detroit by 31 points, so we really felt like we needed to make a statement with the Detroit game, and then hopefully be in good standing coming into the Green Bay game. Green Bay is dangerous on so many fronts, and we're taking this one game at a time, and certainly the home stretch is really important anytime you're playing in conference. And and part of it too is the way you deal with your game against Green Bay. I mean, you have to not get overhyped, and you have to just be very clear and focused and take it as another game. And then how you typically recover from the Green Bay game, because you put all of your focus and energy for days into that game, and then you have one day to prepare for your next opponent, and how you transition from that game to the next is really can play a big factor in the end of the season and the big picture. Detroit coming off the Green Bay game, how would they respond from their loss to Green Bay? Now Wright State coming off of their loss, how would they respond? So it's just an interesting matchup for everyone, and Green Bay is the team to beat year after year in the league. And I think every year we feel positive going into the game, and we've had a chance to beat them a couple of times, not in the regular season but in the postseason. Yeah, so every year we hope to knock them off in the regular season, but I think we all do. So
having extra time helps you scheme. Do you get worried that the players do get a little bit overamped, though, if they have that much time to see them on the schedule?
I don't know. I think what I worry about more is the fact Green Bay plays tremendous defense, and we're a team that we bring our energy comes from our offense, and this year we've been able to score a lot of points, more points than in the past. So what worries me is if it's not a feel-good game offensively, that we may muddle around out there. I think we have to have the perspective that it may be a very low-scoring game. We may not be able to score our 70 points or whatever, close to 70 points that we're averaging, but we've got to be okay with that. We've got to roll with the punches here and understand that it's not going to be probably a high. I mean, I think they hold their opponents to 40 something or high 40s. So that really is a bigger concern of mine, is just where are we going to get that energy, if things aren't going well for us offensively, and we'll approach that all week in practice.
The two times you've beaten them in the postseason, it's been with great 3-point shooting.
Mm-hmm.
Are you looking as that as a as an area where you might be able to get some of those points is from the 3-point line?
I think we are who we are, and we have the ability to shoot the three this year, more so than we did last year, or quite possibly the year before. So, I think that's beneficial to us that we've been hitting threes, especially in the last few games. Anytime you can draw a team out, especially with the back-cutting offense like we run, a Princeton-style offense, so to speak, I think anytime you can hit those outside shots really opens up some interior opportunities for us. Green Bay is a very good defender around the 3-point line as well. I think they lead the league in 3-point defense. So we'll be glad to take those points anywhere we can get them, whether they're from behind the arc or inside the paint. But I think we have to have a balanced approach. I thought against Detroit we started out the game shooting an awful lot of threes and not mixing it up very much. And where we've been most successful is utilizing our inside and outside game.
Dave, Kevin was there, left, and then Bolin came in, and then Kevin came back. Is it the style that makes Green Bay so good year after year, or is it individual players that kind of dominates them, or is it are they more of just kind of like a system team where no matter who's playing, they just seem to?
Well, I think a couple of things, and I don't claim to know their secret,
right.
But I think that they are a system team. I think that their system has been in place for many years. I don't think they really went away from it when Kevin left. I think they stayed with it, and now Kevin's back. So they have that comfort. They don't have that transitional period of hiring a new coach and learning new offenses and defenses. But the other thing that I think is significant is you look at their roster, almost everybody who's playing minutes has an R in front of their grade, which means they're a redshirt senior, a redshirt junior, a redshirt sophomore. They typically bring those kids in and redshirt them their first year, give them that year under their belt to gain experience, and then by the time they're playing significant minutes, they're in their third, fourth, fifth year of being on the team and in the program. I think that's an advantage. I think it's anytime you have leadership and experience on the team, it's very valuable. So I think that's a big part of it. They kind of have a system in developing their players, as well as an offensive and defensive system. And when you've established your program to that nature, then I think you're doing pretty well.
You mentioned Shalonda, 57 points in the last 2 games, and that. We've talked about her a lot during this time. Is there, anything more that you can say how she's, how she's playing, or anything new that you're seeing from her?
Well, I think one of the things, and we've touched on this earlier, is that she's matured a great deal over the years. She came in, she started as a freshman, and that doesn't happen a lot in any Division I institution. But she was a role player as a freshman, and she rebounded for us, typically. She wasn't our primary scorer. I wouldn't even say she was our second or third option. She just played a role for us. And then, she played a little bit bigger role her sophomore year, and then obviously last year she took over the reins of being our leading scorer, leading rebounder. And now she's in a situation where, largely, how we play is based on what her performance is game in and game out. What I've seen from her that may be different over the last couple of years is that, look at the UIC game. She didn't hit a shot from the floor in the first half. She was 0 for 9, and that's tough. And she was pushing really hard. She understands that her role is to be a scorer for us. And so I was really pleased with the attentiveness in the locker room. She's matured in a way that she doesn't sulk through that. That's a tough situation to be in when you're not producing at all and you can't hit shots, and you're very frustrated. And I can say to her, Shay, that just was one of your poorest performances in the first half. But what are you going to do now about that? Are you going to go into the tank and sulk? She put up a whole lot of shots trying to help us get to where we needed to be. And I appreciated that effort, that continued effort. She didn't ever throw in the towel. And in the end of the game, we say, boy, that was one of her, poorest games this year for sure. And she ends up with 25 points and 15 rebounds. And, you got to cut her a little slack when you see that. But I would say the biggest difference I've seen in her is just her tenacity to stick to it and, to fulfill her role. And that is to put the ball in the basket for us and grab rebounds. And, so I've seen her mature in that respect.